Hello Zimbabwe, welcome to Livetalk Diaspora Forum, a platform where we look at issues affecting Zimbabweans in the diaspora. We are coming to you live from Studio 7 at the Voice of America in Washington. I'm your host, Jonga Kandemiri. Today on Livetalk, we are discussing the opening of an e-passport office in South Africa by the Zimbabwean government to cater for millions of its citizens living and working in that country. But first, let's take a look at what is happening here in the USA. Wars in the Middle East and Europe and the US rivalry with China will remain key issues to US diplomats, no matter who wins the November presidential elections. White House Bureau Chief Patsy Widakuswara looks at the foreign policy priorities of the two candidates, Joe Biden and Donald Trump.
Picture the year 2025. A permanent ceasefire in Gaza could still be out of reach. A war of attrition still simmering in Ukraine, and China continues to be a threat. Whether Joe Biden or Donald Trump wins the presidency, these challenges will remain. Biden's second-term foreign policy will be based on the same principles as his first: global leadership and multilateralism.
The United States will compete, and will compete vigorously, and lead with our values and our strength. We'll stand up for our allies and our friends.
Plus, a focus on an area the administration believes it needs to improve on.
It's a major initiative with the Congress aimed at truly delivering on the promise of unlocking resources for the developing world.
That means more U.S. investments for debt relief programs, multilateral development bank reforms, and various infrastructure projects worldwide. The goal, to push back on China's global development initiatives by supporting various corridor projects around the world, such as the Lobito Corridor that connects Zambia, Democratic Republic of Congo, and Angola.
We can not only build out a transportation capacity to help ensure that we have the inputs for our clean energy supply chains, but also unlock Africa's vast agricultural potential by getting goods to market, and also unlock a digital transformation across that area.
If Trump wins, there won't be as much focus on international development.
Make America richer and safer and stronger and prouder and more beautiful than ever before. I think we have a final shot at it.
Although Trump's catchphrase is America first, it does not mean his foreign policy is isolationist.
Mercantilist, sure. Transactionalist, yes. But I think the most interesting part of his foreign policy is just the degree to which his vision of the tools of U.S. power be used in a different way.
Unwavering support for Israel, conditional aid to Ukraine, and a strong rivalry with China. These are foreign policy principles proposed for a second term by the Trump-affiliated think tank America First Policy Institute.
Those are three areas that any incoming America First administration is going to have to deal with, and is going to have to put that peace through strength test, right? That approach to the test.
While we don't know who will win in November, we do know that foreign policy won't be the determining factor. Polls suggest most Americans are more concerned with inflation, the economy, immigration, and crime than with U.S. engagements abroad. Patsy Widakuswara, VOA News, Washington.
That was White House Bureau Chief Patsy Widakuswara in Washington, D.C. Now to Kenya. Traditional cooking fuels and technologies are among the major sources of household air pollution in sub-Saharan Africa, with severe health consequences for the population, according to the World Bank. Now, an initiative to promote climate-friendly cooking in the region is introducing stoves that use less charcoal and firewood to improve air quality. Juma Majanga reports from Nakuru, Kenya.
At a local market in Nakuru, a town in Kenya's Rift Valley region, Josephine Abongo is busy attending to customers at her cook stoves shop. Abongo produces and sells clay-molded energy-saving stoves that she says are a great improvement to the open fire cooking technology used in most rural homes in Kenya.
So what we are doing is to bring back the traditional technology, but in an improved way, in a digital way, so that it can be used even in urban homes. That way we will save trees, we will save the environment, and we will save our health. We will also save economically because the economy is currently bad and people don't have money.
The project is being implemented by Practical Action, a development-focused non-governmental organization.
I think it's becoming a talk that we are moving the discussion towards ensuring that our local people transit from the traditional cooking solutions to the new cooking solutions that save their lives.
Health experts say cooking smoke is a major health risk, especially to rural populations in sub-Saharan Africa. Data from Kenya's Ministry of Health estimates that 21,500 premature deaths occur each year as a result of indoor air pollution triggered by cooking.
The use of firewood, as we know, when it burns, that smoke is direct. It's worse than even when you smoke because there is a filter. This is the primary use of the smoke, which has a lot of effect in the lungs.
Unlike traditional stoves, the improved devices are designed so the flame is aimed directly at the cooking pot to avoid wasting heat. They also have just one opening for charcoal and firewood instead of 3. And they are constructed with a thick liner made from a special type of clay for heat conservation. All these factors make the stoves up to 40% more efficient, reducing consumption of firewood and charcoal. Practical Action says around 200,000 improved cook stoves have been sold by more than 300 trained entrepreneurs like Abongo. Kagoto Danji Vocational Training Center is one institution that has adopted the cleaner cooking technology. Principal Malaki Manasseh says the move has cut costs for the institution.
We used to have a full-ton lorry of firewood a term, but the way I've implemented it, I've saved almost 80% of that, which is a plus for us.
Last year's International Energy Agency annual conference in Nairobi called for an acceleration of universal access to cleaner cooking through government incentives and subsidies. Practical Action's Team Mwangi says funding remains a major problem for African countries.
Well, we have very good policies, but in terms of funding, then it needs to match the good policies that we have in there.
Kenya aims to achieve 100% access to clean cooking by 2028, in line with UN Sustainable Development Goals. Joma Majanga, VOA News, Nakuru, Kenya.
That was Juma Majanga reporting from Nakuru, Kenya. Back to our topic of the day. The Zimbabwe government says it has finally eased the plight of its citizens living and working in South Africa following the opening this week of an e-passport office in that country. A Home Affairs official told the Herald newspaper this week that Zimbabweans in South Africa have started accessing e-passport services. Most Zimbabweans have been traveling back home to renew or apply for new passports, but some people say they have not yet accessed the facility. According to the country's latest census data and the International Organization for Migration, there are more than 1 million Zimbabweans living in South Africa, but some estimates have put the figure at over 3 million, although many are believed to be undocumented migrants. Will the office be of great service to every Zimbabwean? We tried to reach the ambassador, that's Mr. David Hamadziripi, but his phone was not being picked. Hongu vadiwa vateereri nevatariri tinokugamuchirai nemufaro muchirongwa chedu chatiri kutarisa zviri kusangana nevana veZimbabwe vari kunze kwenyika. Nhasi muchirongwa tiri kutarisa nezvedanho rakatorwa nehurumende yeZimbabwe rekuvhura hofisi muSouth Africa yekubatsira zvizvarwa zveZimbabwe zviri munyika iyi kuti zvirerukirwe kuwana magwaro ekufambisa kana kuti mapassport. With that, let's take a short break. Please stay tuned. We'll be right back.
In times of change, when the world seems uncertain, And what we hear doesn't reflect what we see. We seek the truth. When we are told only part of the story, we lose trust. In moments of crisis, our dreams, hopes, and wishes for a better tomorrow depends on a free press. At Voice of America, we bring you the stories that people take risks to see. We connect the world and unite it with truth. At Voice of America, we show you the whole picture.
For those that have just joined us, please note that we are streaming live on our Facebook pages, VOA Shona, VOA Studio 7, and VOA Ndebele. We are also live on YouTube, VOA Zimbabwe. To discuss this topic in detail, we are joined by Mr. Moses Nhlanhla Ncube, who is the Secretary General of Freedom Alliance Party, and Mr. Bongani Mkhwananzi of Zimbabwe Community in South Africa, and also Mr. Kennedy Mandaza of ZANU-PF. He is currently in Harare. Welcome to the program, gentlemen.
Thank you so much.
Tinotenda, thank you so much. Let me start with you, Mr. Mandaza. How important is this office to Zimbabweans living in South Africa?
Thank you very much, Mr. Jonga. The move by the government to make sure that Zimbabweans can access passports while in South Africa is quite commendable, and it has been long overdue. However, we are very happy that at last the majority of the people who used to send their passports to Zimbabwe to be assisted, or their forms rather to Zimbabwe for them to be processed, can now easily get the passport within the shortest period of time in South Africa. So what it means is that for the majority of those who would want to access passports, they will save money, which they had to pay a number of middlemen in order for them to have their forms transported to Zimbabwe, and at times you have people swindling their money and so on. So there is a chance that they will be able to save money. Besides that, it will also enable the majority of Zimbabweans whose passports had expired to easily get to the consulate and get the passport. So there is now an easy way for people to get their passports other than waiting for time to get to Zimbabwe. Mm-hmm. And more importantly, I think it will also enable Zimbabweans who are finding it difficult to regularize their stay in South Africa to make sure that they have passports and then try by all means to access the various means and ways which are available, which have been availed by the South African government for them to be able to access passports. So it's a very good move which have been taken by the Zimbabwean government to make sure that its citizenry that is currently in South Africa can neatly access documents which will enable them to travel with ease across to Zimbabwe and also back into South Africa.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mandaza. Please do stay on the line. Mr. Ncube, do you think the office is worth having in South Africa, or there were more important issues the government should have addressed instead of a passport office?
I think the passport issue was long overdue, considering that South Africa has been taking care of Zimbabweans as early as when the ZEP permit was issued. People needed to get documentation, but Zimbabwe was not coming on board. Now, after many years, that is the characteristic of our government. After many years, they've come to the party. And this will prove that they can also have the capacity to hold elections even in the diaspora, as it were. So we see it as a very good move that will expose them, as well as helping the people of Zimbabwe that are here. You are at work, you have got to do your documents, you have to go to Zimbabwe or to post things. It was really a cumbersome exercise. So we view this one as a very, very positive thing to do. Although there are quite a lot of things that need to be done, but the passport has now become a basic need in Zimbabwe due to the economic dilapidation and everything. So it is welcome, though late.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ngube. Do stay on the line. Mr. Mkwananzi, it is estimated that over 3 million Zimbabweans are currently residing in South Africa. Do you see them utilizing this office to its maximum use, or it will end up being a white elephant, considering that many of those are said to be in South Africa are said to be illegal migrants?
Thank you very much, Jonah. Let me begin by saying that I've confirmed that this process has not actually started, and final preparations are still in place. And from what we were told by officials from the embassies, that once it's fully in place, the embassy is going to issue a statement. So currently, it should be known that while this is a process being planned and is being implemented, it is not yet in place as we speak of today. So information that is being sent out that this has started might not necessarily be accurate, but no, you must understand I'm the spokesperson for Zimbabweans in South Africa, but not necessarily for the embassy. So you will have to really get that information verbatim. However, so saying, the office, the issuing of passports from South Africa and cutting out the need for people to go to the consulate, get forms themselves, send them via someone else, and allocate someone to collect the passport for them is a bit cumbersome, and we have long called as the Zimbabwe community in South Africa that this should be done away with. We have even at some point called for the use of maybe diplomatic bags to facilitate that when someone goes to the consulate, they fill in their forms, they take their fingerprints, and still submit those documents at the consulate.
I think we have lost Mr. Mkwananzi while we are reconnecting with him. Let's go to Mr. Mandaza. Vamandaza, ndibvunze nerurimi rwaamai. Tanzwa vaMkwananzi vari kuti hongu urongwa huripo asi hunogona kunge husati hwatanga sekutaurwa zviri kuitwa nebepanhau reHerald. Isuwo taedza kubata sezvandataura taedza kubata vaDavid Hamadziripi mumiriri weZimbabwe kuSouth Africa, asi hatina kukwanisa kuvabata. Tichingotarisai urongwa wacho hwekuti hwatowepo uye vashandi vebazi rezvemukati menyika vakatoendeswa kuSouth Africa kuti vange vachibatsira vari kweikoko. Mataura emi kuti chinhu chakakosha zvikuru kuvana veZimbabwe, asi tinonzwa kuti vana veZimbabwe vakawanda vari muSouth Africa havana magwaro. Mungaziona here vachienda kumahofisi iyaya ivo vasina magwaro kuti vange vachiwana magwaro ekufambisa kana passport?
Zvakakosha kune mwana wese weZimbabwe ari muSouth Africa kuti ange aine mapepa ekufambisa anodiwa nenyika yemuSouth Africa kana kuti vaine mapassports uyezve nemamwe mapepa anodiwa munyika imomo. Naizvozvo kuti ukwanise kuwana bepa rinodiwa ngatiti visa kana permit, zvaakuchireva kuti izvo hausisina chikonzero chokuti handinai passport kana kuti handikwanise kuwana passport. Saka zvichaita kuti munhu wese anga achikundikana nekuda kwezvikonzero zvakasiyana siyana achishaya nzira yekuti ati handichakwanisa kuenda kunowana permit nekuti handina passport kana kuti kumusha kunonetsa. Taane pekuti vanhu vanokwanisa kuenda vachinotora mapassports pari pedyo panova muJohannesburg. Tinoziva kuti zvana South Africa yakakura. Tinotarisira kuti hurumende yedu sekutanga kwayaita ichaita kuti zvikwanisike kuti vari kunana Durban, vari kunana Cape Town, North West and so on vakwanisewo kuwana nzira dzekuti iyo passport iyi vaiwane nenzira dziri nyore. Asi chikuru ndechekuti kuvapo kwepassport office iyoyi muJohannesburg zvaakurerutsira vazhinji vanga vachitya kuti tikakrosa kuenda kuZimbabwe hatikwanisi kuzodzoka nekuti hatina mapassport, vaakuchiatorera muSouth Africa imomo, kuita kuti South Africa yaakuchikwanisa kuti vazhinji vanga vasina mapassports vachikwanisa ivo kuaplayawo mawaiver nezvimwe zvakadaro zviri kudiwa kuti vakwanise kuwana magariro akarurama vari mukati menyika yeSouth Africa. Saka ndidanho rakanaka chose randinofungidzira kuti munhu wese asina neane ari kupera vachakwanisa kushandisa mapassport office iyoyi.
Thank you so much. Let me go to Mr. Ncube. Mr. Ncube, you heard from Mr. Mandaza that Zimbabweans who do not have documents that allow them to live in South Africa will be able now to have passports through this office. But is it still legal for the Zimbabweans to obtain a passport in South Africa and live in South Africa without entering South Africa without a visa in the first place? On that one, I can't really say the legality of it. I'm not having it at hand. But what I believe is that it's going to encourage a lot of people to be documented, both in Zimbabwe and in South Africa, because the moment you are getting your passport here, and then going to Zimbabwe becomes easier. Even the cost that people are paying, the border jumping is going to be kept and everything. It's going to be a lot of advantage. The fact that someone can be identified wherever they are having documentation, even the regularization becomes easier when you are having documents. Because we still have people that are here in the legal sense, but now the passport has expired. Where the person works, they cannot travel to Zimbabwe and have things sorted out. So I believe that this is going to help. The way it has come, though late, but it is going to alleviate a lot of the problems that people have been facing through and through. Because coming to South Africa, ages and ages, it has been a very, very difficult thing. Some people losing their lives, people being abused, raped, some killed, some drowning in the Limpopo River and everything. So this will help a lot. But on the legality of someone getting the document here and then going back to Zimbabwe, I'm not quite sure on that. Thank you so much. I'm not sure whether we now have Mr. Mkwananzi back on the show. Mr. Mkwananzi?
Yes, I'm back. I was cut off as I was saying that the Zimbabwe community has always called for this to be done. And yet, still years and years after calling for this, we still get promises that it's almost being done. And we get such reports that it's about to be done. Thank you. Mr. Mkwananzi, please do hold on. We have a caller there. Just hold on. I'll come back to you. Hello, Mtereri Magadi? Hello? Magadiwo. Takasimba ndianawo.
Ndi Mr. Edmo.
Mr. Edmo, muri kufona muri kupi mkoma?
Tiri kufona tiri ku South Africa.
Taurai tinzwe vatinawo padare vedu vakateerera.
Ya senya yangu yandatangira panzira, but ndinoona iri nyaya yakanaka chaizvo, because vazhinji vedu vari kunetseka nenhau yemapepa. Saka nhau yekufamba kuti azobva kunoku aende kuZimbabwe agodzoka, mari dzacho zveshe dzichinetsa. Saka ndinoona kuti nhau yakanaka sezvo mari shoma inenge yakabatwa nomwe nomwe anokwanisa kuti awane mapake padhuze. But chete chingokumbira sekuti dei zvaigona hurumende yeSouth Africa yagona kurenewa mapemits kuti tigone kugara, sezvo vaitaura kuti tine nguva pfupi nokwa 3 months. Saka kushanda chaipo 3 months ndonasa kuti yakaita shoma.
Aiwa tinotenda zvikuru mukoma Edmore muwane zuva rakanaka rikaitiswa zunzwa vadare vedu. Let me go back to Mr. Mkwananzi. Mr. Mkwananzi, may you explain in Isindebele the importance of this passport office being opened in South Africa?
Siyabonga Jonga. Khona kuqakatheke ngendlela esimanga ukuthi abantu abadinga izingwalo bazithole kungazange basebenzise umiddleman okwenza ukuthi nxa bengafika econsulate bekwazi ukuthi ba-aplayele ama-passport abo bashiye khona econsulate amafomu iconsulate ibe yiwo ahambisayo e-registers office nxa kulesidingo sokuwahambisa khona ekhaya kuyelungiswa kuphinde umuntu amenyezele ukuthi kaphenduka azothatha into yakhe isiphelele, whether i-birth certificate, whether i-passport, whether i-marriage document or whatever amanye ama-documents atholakala e-consulate. Lento yokuthi ama-passport bekumele umuntu aqale athumele yena sedinga omunye imiddleman ivele dala nje ukuthi kube nzima. Kuqakatheke kakhulu ngoba izizolwane zeZimbabwe lapha eSouth Africa ziningi sezihlale iminyaka leminyaka ama-passport aya-expire. Ngizwile lapha ukuzwa yini ukuthi kusemthethweni yini ukuthi umuntu ayethatha lawo madokhumenti mhlawumbe mayekade ngene illegally. Lokho-ke sokuyinto leyana esesitshaya khona ilise sisimeze senze ngathi asikubolanga.
Thank you.
Thina njengezikhulumeli zabantu bakithi si-expect ukuthi i-consulate ibekwazi ukwenza konke.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, my brother. Our time is running out. Let me go to Mr. Ncube. Mr. Ncube, you raised the issue of diaspora vote. Do you tie it with the opening of an office in South Africa? Because there are other countries where Zimbabweans are in large numbers, like the UK, and I don't think they have opened any office, passport office there. So they still need to maybe do the same for Zimbabweans in the diaspora to vote. What exactly do you want the government to do for Zimbabweans in the diaspora to vote?
What they should do is South Africa should not be the only place where they will have this office. It should be expanded to cover internationally. They can see central points where people where they can have these offices so that people can be able to travel there and vote. At least we can have the diaspora vote that way, having everyone being catered for. Because if the passports are going to be issued without any problem, it will mean that even the ballot paper is also going to be issued and administered without any problem. And also another issue that will be very paramount is that as we have these offices, we need the officers there who can speak various languages. The geographical orientation of Zimbabwe should be portrayed there, where you are having someone who can speak in Tonga, someone in other languages, etc., coming in there. That would be very, very important, and it will be possible worldwide.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Let me go to Mr. Mandaza. Mr. Mandaza, you heard from Mr. Ncube the issue of diaspora vote. He says if the passports can be issued in South Africa or outside the country, it means even diaspora vote is possible. What's your take on that?
While there is not much correlation between the two, the opening of the e-passport offices in the diaspora and the issue of the diaspora vote. However, I would say in principle, it is something that is there, that at some point the diaspora vote will be introduced. But what we need, what I think Zach will be doing is to learn from good practices that they've seen across the globe, particularly with what has happened in South Africa. They will be able to learn lessons, and with time, we are likely to see the diaspora vote.
Thank you so much. That brings us to the end of our show. We would like to take this opportunity to thank our guests, Mr. Moses Ncube of Freedom Alliance Party, Mr. Bongani Mkwananzi of Zimbabwe Community, South Africa, and Mr. Kenneth Mandaza of ZANU-PF. Signing off in Washington, this is Jonga Kandemiri.